Hey, I'm Em. I am your self-sabotage chain breaker. And do you know what? The more I say that phrase, the more I'm kind of sitting with it. I love it. It creates this image in my head every time of me, and I've got all my kind of past life. I mean this life technically, not past lives, but my past stuff kind of hemming me in and keeping me stuck, and I can kind of visualize myself there, literally like pulling the chains off, pulling it apart, and that feeling of just absolute complete and utter freedom. So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you. It's really sitting really well with me. So today, what I want to talk to you about is why we find it so hard to recognize where we're self-sabotaging, how we then do it, right? Because it's all very good knowing why, but actually, yeah, how do we do this stuff? How do we recognize it so that we can do something about it? Because bottom line, if you can't see that it's there, if you can't see that something's off, how are you going to ever change it? You need to have that awareness in the first place. So guys, if this is appealing to you, if the stuff that I'm talking about is resonating with you, do not forget, subscribe, hit the bell, and then you'll be notified of when I post my videos, and you'll be sure not to miss anything. So let's crack on with the subject today. Now, I just want to share a little bit about me within this and what I went through. So I actually took a long time to recognize that what was going on for me was self-sabotage. It's a hard one. There was kind of peaks and troughs. So I'd be going through something and I'd maybe start to recognize a little bit, and then something else would happen. I'd go back into the blame place, and it's really quite confusing, which I'll go on to talk about. But the key thing, right, is I didn't feel like I had control over my life. I hadn't kind of grasped that concept for a while. So I felt like everything in my life was happening to me rather than a creation. Not that, I need to be really clear about this, because it's not like we are making these things happen in our lives, but we're choosing how to respond. We're choosing what situations to stay in, to get out of, and all of that stuff, and just recognizing that control. And I touched on this last time. So why is it so hard to recognize that we're self-sabotaging? Well, there's a few things. Think about society generally, and please share your thoughts on this if you don't agree with me. This is just my opinion. I feel like there's a real blame culture, and I feel like this is something that we're almost brought up with to a degree, no matter like what your family system or whatever. It's always the fault of someone else or something else around you, right? You kind of almost, I'm going to say taught, not so much taught, you're encouraged, I guess, to look for this stuff. If you listen to people just generally, you know, not just your friends, but just people in the kind of outer society, if you listen to them, what you will hear a lot is, oh, well, you know, this happened to me, this thing happened to me, and therefore my life is like this. Or let me think of another example for you. Okay, my business isn't working, but it's because of the recession, for example, as one that, you know, we can look at now. It's because of other people and the fact that they're not in a position to buy the services from me. It's maybe not the best example, but just go with this, right? So we blame everything else rather than looking and going, okay, so with my business, what am I doing to show up authentically? What am I doing to make sure that I'm attracting the people I want towards what I'm doing? What am I doing to get out there and talk about what I'm doing? All that kind of stuff. So you can see that actually, if you don't do that stuff, right, then your business isn't going to work. But in a way, it's easier to blame everything else because it means you don't have to then address that stuff. Is that making sense? It's like we don't have to face it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You know, we're obviously avoiding this stuff for a reason. Like I've said before, self-sabotage is complicated, and maybe you're not believing that you can do it. Maybe you don't think you deserve it. All that stuff. So there is a reason you're avoiding it. But by recognizing that you're avoiding it means you need to do something about that stuff, right? And so, yeah, blaming everyone else actually sometimes is the easier option, okay? There's also this thing about protection that I touched on last time, and this is also something that I find like really super interesting, is that we can convince ourselves that we are protecting ourselves through the actions that we're taking and that it's not self-sabotage. So I want to share a really personal example with you guys. So I've been trying to make some decisions around work and business at the moment. And, for a while now, I've been trying to do my business development and run my business outside of my other job. And, it's become apparent that the two things, it's too much to do alongside each other, in the sense of I want to do so much with my business. I have so many ideas, so much development stuff that I want to do, and I'm not able to do that if I'm doing my full-time job. But in my mind, right, I'd convinced myself that actually reducing my hours at work or whatever that looks like, leaving work, whatever that looks like, it would almost, I'd convinced myself that would have been self-sabotage, in the sense of, actually, that's something that's stable, it's a regular income. I actually do still like what I do there, and my mind going, you'd be crazy to do that. That's something that's good for you. And then I really kind of spent some time thinking about this, just really reflecting, meditating on it a lot, because obviously this is a big thing. And I realised that actually what I was doing was self-sabotaging the thing that mattered most to me. And that is my business. That's my passion. That's what I want to do. So actually I'd had it kind of twisted in my head because my mind was trying to protect me. Yeah, so I'd convinced myself I was protecting myself, but actually I was harming myself. And I was harming myself because I wasn't giving myself the opportunity to do what my heart tells me is right for me, to do the thing that I know is going to help so many people when it comes to breaking the chains of self-sabotage, when it comes to recognizing their self-worth, knowing that they're enough and living the life that they want to live. That's I can feel it when I talk about it. So I know it's right, it's there. So yeah, that's sometimes why we don't recognize it, because we've literally convinced ourselves of that. So again, it's about being aware of the stories that you're telling yourself. And later in this, I'm going to go on to talk about that and kind of how we recognize that this stuff is going on. So another thing I just want you to think about, and this is less around the business, but more around the relationships, but I guess it could come into both. We can become almost used to the way things are, so used to it, it becomes our norm, and we no longer see it as self-sabotage, right? So, let's say, for example, you're in a relationship, that person doesn't treat you particularly well, okay? But they haven't done for some time. So for you, in your mind, it's almost, that's normal. That's just a normal way of being. So you don't see you staying in it as sabotaging your happiness because it's just become so familiar to you. Yeah? Makes sense? And this is again, from personal experience, you reach this point where, how do I explain this? The good days, what you call the good days, are literally just okay, yeah? Because let me get my words out. They feel good compared to the shit days, yeah? So if you looked at your ideal or your relationship and people around you and whatever, and you said, oh yeah, this is a really good day, they wouldn't see that as a good day. They'd be like, yeah, it's kind of okay. But things have got so bad that anything that's just okay and not horrendous feels good. So then you go into this place of, oh, well, we have good days, perhaps actually I should stay in here. Perhaps I should make it better. And not, really recognizing and seeing that your happiness is what's important, your love for yourself, your respect for yourself, and you're sabotaging all of that by staying in a situation with someone who is not treating you with that respect that you deserve, with that love that you deserve. And again, the fear stuff comes in there as well, right? Because if you've been with somebody for a long time, even if you start to recognize that stuff deep down and think, oh, yeah, actually, this isn't great for me to be staying in. What am I doing here? Let's just be honest, it can be really, really scary. It's a big change to suddenly go from being with someone for a period of time to being on your own. And the longer you're in that, the harder it is, and it's tough. And so your mind again is going to go, well, shit, this is really scary. Are you sure you want to do this? And that fear can keep us from even recognizing our self-sabotage, because again, we go back into justifying it. Oh, well, it's okay because of this, or, it must be just something that I'm doing. We do that because actually recognizing that our self-sabotaging behavior means we've got to do something about it. Well, we don't have to, but of course we'll get that niggle all the time if we don't, saying, oh, you've recognized this, now do something. And that's the key here, I guess, in all of it. And that's the kind of common thread is when we know, it kind of pushes us and gives us this uncomfortable feeling if we don't act. But the bloody amazing thing here, of course, is when we know, then we can act, we can make decisions. So this isn't about oh, I'm going to judge myself because I've been self-sabotaging. It's about, let's just be bloody compassionate with myself and go, okay, I recognize this, but hallelujah, right? Let me celebrate the hell out of the fact I recognize my self-sabotage, because now I can do something about it. I can make a choice and change it. So let's go to how you do this, right? Now, this is going to sound kind of simple, and it is in many ways, but as you delve into each one, it's a little bit more complex, right? So I'm going to give you 3 steps that you can take to recognize where you're self-sabotaging. First of all, grab a pen and paper, write down everything in your life that you're not happy with, that on whatever kind of scale, whatever kind of level. So it could be things that there's a slight discomfort around. It could be things that there's a big discomfort around. Whatever feels good for you. There's no rules in this, yeah? This is just a guide. Write down those things you're not happy with and spend some time thinking about this, because like I said, we can become accustomed to how things are. Oh, this is just the way it is. It's not so bad. Well, yeah, I lived in that for a while, but actually, oh my God, when you break out of that and you're actually doing things that fill you with joy, and that's not to say I don't have crappy days. Obviously we all have crappy days, yeah? But I'm no longer just accepting things. I'm striving for the stuff that I want in my life, yeah? I'm taking my energy and I'm putting it into that stuff. So yeah, when you're writing that list, just be mindful, are there things you've just come to accept that actually in an ideal world you don't want and you're not happy with? Make that list, right? Now, next bit, and this is super important when it comes to actually owning this stuff. I want you to go for each of those things, right, I'm going to choose. I'm going to either accept this or I'm going to change it, right? Because there is absolutely 0 point putting your energy into looking at something that you actually haven't got the desire to change. You've got to be honest with yourself about this. There will be some things that aren't a priority that you think, do you know what, I'm going to accept that. But if you accept it, make peace with it, yeah? You can't kind of have this thing where you're sort of half in and half out. Oh, I don't like it, but I'm not going to do anything about it, because that's just going to leave you feeling really crappy all the time. So make peace with it and accept it's there. Even just accept it for now if that's what you want to do. Or go, right, okay, I'm not happy with that. I'm going to make the choice to change it. Yeah? That in itself, oh my God, when I was going through my stuff, when I actually made that decision, enough is enough. I'm going to change things. That just was the biggest catalyst to change for me. Because it was just you make the decision. So that's what I want you to do here. Accept it or make the decision to change it, right? Now look at those things you've decided are really important to you and that you want to change. Now I want you to think about your actions, okay? Right. If you take the thing you want to change and then go, okay, how do I want things to be instead? Yeah. So what would my ideal be in that situation? So, for example, okay, right, I'm not happy in my job. Yeah, that's something I want to change. Okay, so what do you want to be doing? Right, what actions would I need to do to take me there? And then I want you to look at what actions you're actually doing, right? And if those actions you're doing are not taking you to what you want, then you are self-sabotaging, right? Give you another example. Let's say you really want to focus on your health. You know you've not been taking care of yourself in the way you'd want to. I've had times my diet's been full of sugar and not much else, wasn't great. But you want that. You want to get healthy, whatever that looks like to you, right? You want more energy and all of that stuff. But yeah, you're skipping breakfast, you're snacking all day, you're eating things that are going to give you these sugar highs and these sugar lows. You're not giving your body the nutrients that it needs. So you're saying, I want this is important, but what you're doing is going against it. So that's one part, the actions you're taking and not taking, right? Like I say, it could be actions just completely against what you want, or it could be that you're not doing something that will take you to what you want. But the other part of it is, where are you causing yourself harm within the actions you're taking? So when you think about the things you want, right, this is the kind of other element to it really. If you're thinking about the things you want and the things you want to change, and you're struggling with that, but instead of dealing with that, you're doing things to avoid or to block out, whatever that might look like. So for some people, that is getting shit-faced drunk. Some people are using substances. Some people are going on spending sprees and buying things as a comfort. Some people are comfort eating. Whatever that looks like, the point is you're avoiding stuff and you are causing damage to yourself in the process, whether that be physically, emotionally, whatever that looks like. That is also self-sabotage. And I'm going to do a whole nother video on that, because that's just massive in itself. But those are the things, okay? So what you're not happy with, are you going to accept it or change it? If you're going to change it, what actions do you need to take? What actions are you taking? And where are you maybe hurting yourself in the process? You right there have your self-sabotage. You've got it there right in front of you. Now, what you choose to do with that is completely up to you, yeah? I'm never here to tell anyone what to do. But I'll tell you something, once you recognize it, it's a lot harder to sit with it. Because once it's there, it's like it's this shining light going, okay, I'm responsible for this. Actually, I want something different. I know what I need to do. And that's why it's so bloody important, because once you know, then you can make the changes. So guys, right? Let's try and get involved with this one. Do this process. And if you feel happy to, I would love for us to discuss this in the comments. I would love for you guys to share even just one thing that you weren't aware of before, or you hadn't let yourself see, right? Because we are aware deep down, we just don't always want to see it. One thing that you've kind of really discovered about yourself in this process where you are self-sabotaging. And you know what? Again, don't judge it. Celebrate the shit out of this, right? Celebrate and be like, oh my God, I know this now. And then in the comments as well, one thing you're going to do to change it. Just one thing. This doesn't have to be huge, guys. Let's not throw ourselves into kind of panic outside comfort zone stuff. Let's just go, right, okay, let's start small. But let's take one significant, consistent action towards what we want and away from our self-sabotage. I really hope that that's been useful for you. Again, drop me a comment just with wider views, what you think, and you know, anything that's come up that you want me to elaborate on further. And please remember, do hit subscribe. I am going to be digging into loads more of this stuff. There's going to be a lot of exploration going on, right? Because self-sabotage in itself is fascinating. It covers so many things. So don't be surprised if stuff's coming up for you and you're thinking, oh yeah, I need a bit more of that. Drop me a message, let me know, and I'll be sure to cover it in my videos. Have the most wonderful week, and I will be back next week where I'm going to be talking to you about how to boost. I was going to say higher, but my grammar wouldn't have been great. I was going to say higher your vibe. Boost your vibe? Whichever it is, yeah? Grammar's not my strong point, and that's all good. Boost that kind of good enough, feel good vibe. So I'm going to be talking to you about that next time, and I'm super excited for that. Majorly important part of breaking the chains of self-sabotage. Love you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.